Porsche 911 needs no introduction. Quite simply, it's one of the most iconic sports cars ever made, and this year it celebrates its 50th birthday. To join in the festivities, we've come to the spiritual home of Porsche in the UK, the Porsche Experience Centre at Silverstone. Set in the grounds of Britain's most high-profile race circuit, the centre is a training facility at which Porsche buyers are taught how to get the most out of their car and, more importantly, how to do it safely. The facility has its own handling circuit, an off-road track and even a synthetic ice hill. Anyone who buys a new Porsche gets a complimentary day here, and it is one heck of a place. I mean, just look at this atrium and this awesome display of cars. Leading off the atrium, there's also a conference room, a cinema, a rather good restaurant, and even a sports science laboratory. Now, I know what you're thinking. As cool as this place is, a trip to Northamptonshire hardly feels like a fitting way to celebrate the birthday of a motoring great like the 911. Well, don't worry. This is just the starting point of our journey. From here, we're going back to where it all started, the true home of Porsche, Stuttgart. More specifically, we're off to Stuttgart's Porsche Museum to find out how the 911 and Porsche as a whole has evolved over the years. And our transport for the journey? Well, need you ask. It's the latest version of the 911, the 991 series. But we're not going to leave just yet. There's an empty handling circuit over there, so I might go and have myself a few practice laps.
Train in my mind. I put toothpaste on my toast and left the coffee behind. I'm walking up the road, but I'm heading south. The city never talks, it either whispers or shouts. I'm just checking in with you before I check out. Before I check myself out.
Like any 50-year-old, the 911's piled on the pounds over the years. The 991's bigger in every direction than 911's of old, and because it's developed a taste for the finer things in life, you know, aircon, sat-nav, it's also got a lot more mass to carry around as well. However, don't go thinking that the 991 is any less athletic than its forebears. In fact, you could say it's never been fitter. The car we've got here is the 4S version. The 4 means it's got 4-wheel drive, and the S means it's got the more powerful of the Carrera's 2 engine choices. It's a 3.8 litre flat 6. Now normally, this engine has about 400 horsepower and is good for 0 to 62 miles per hour in about 4.5 seconds. This particular 4S, however, has the PDK twin clutch gearbox and an optional power upgrade that boosts the output by another 30 horses. That's a combination that costs you 12 grand on top of the 90 odd you've already spent, which is frankly ridiculous. But it does cut that all important sprint time down to just 3.9 seconds. Now that sounds fast, but believe you me, it feels even faster. I mean, the engine already feels pretty brutal at low revs, but once you wind it up and power through the gears with the paddle shifters, it feels properly ferocious. For me, This car is everything a 911 should be. It's agile, it's involving, it's thrilling, but it's still comfortable enough to use every day. What more do you need? So it's taken us just shy of 11 hours, but we're finally in Stuttgart. There it is. Wow, that is impressive. It first opened in 2009 after taking almost 3.5 years to build, and it gives the public access to around 80 of Porsche's most historically significant cars. Now the cars on display are rotated on a regular basis, so we don't know exactly what we're going to find. What we do know, however, is that to mark the 50th anniversary, a big slice of the exhibition is being dedicated to the 911. What's more, we've been granted access to the place after hours, so unbelievably, we've got all night to snoop around. This is our first big find of the night, the 917 race car. This is the car that produced Porsche's first win in the Le Mans 24 Hour in 1970 and then did it again in 1971. This thing is an absolute motor racing legend. Just look at this 356. This car's really important because it was a direct forerunner of the 911, but it's also a bit of a childhood hero of mine. When I was a kid, I had 3 cars on posters on my bedroom wall, and this was one of them. And this particular car is one of the first 356s ever built. Wow, it is just beautiful. And yep, this is it. This is the bit we've been looking for, the start of the 911 section. This one here is Genesis. This is the 2-litre coupe from 1965, one of the first 911s ever built. This one must be worth a fortune. And from Genesis, you've got pretty much a complete timeline of all things 911. There's every body style of every production version of the car, and there's prototypes that never even made production. There are limited editions, one-offs, factory race cars, club sport racers, 911s with celebrity owners, pretty much everything you can think of. And every single one is in absolutely mint condition. You could easily spend all night soaking up the passion and the history in this room. But since we had an early start this morning and we're getting kicked out of here first thing, I'm going to get some shut-eye. When you think about it, this place serves much more of a purpose than just showing cars to the public. I mean, Porsche is all about its heritage, and sticking to it no matter what. Take the 911. Everyone else said that the rear engine layout was all wrong, but Porsche stubbornly stuck to its guns and made it work. And by having such a spectacular celebration of the past right on the doorstep of the factory, it'll hammer home the importance of that heritage to the designers and the engineers of the future. It's an incredible place, and we've been lucky enough to experience it in a way that few people ever will. And best of all, the experience isn't over yet, because now I get to drive home.